Do you guys want to see a bunch of really cool minis? I don't just play Warhammer 40k, in fact I play just about every single miniature war game out there. I have been playing Warhammer 40,000 since high school, and I have dabbled in Age of Sigmar, especially Spearhead, but that is just the very tip of the miniature wargaming iceberg. I have experienced a lot of it. What did they say in Hellraiser? We have such sights to show you. This video has been sponsored by One Page Rules, and so they've given me the opportunity to talk about some of the most interesting wargames that have made it to my painting desk as of late. Fallout miniatures have been a very slow burn for me. I've been collecting them for years. Actually, Fallout miniatures are the very first non-Warhammer 40,000 miniatures I ever bought. When I found out that these existed, I had to have them. I am a huge fan of Fallout New Vegas. That's my favorite video game. My local grocery store has been having these Fallout Quantums, and so I've been buying these. Absolutely disgusting, but they do look like the thing from the game, and so that really, really makes me happy. I really, really like these miniatures, and eventually I had collected so many that I actually got around to trying out the game, Fallout Wasteland Warfare. I bought everything you need to play this game, and then I discovered it's not for me. Let me show you guys Fallout Wasteland Warfare. There are tokens on top of tokens, and each model you bring comes with a corresponding stat card full of information. Then every weapon, tool, and item you equip a model with has its own stats and modifiers. Then there's different ranges with different corresponding colors, unique dice. The game is dense. I gave up on Fallout Wasteland Warfare, but I did not give up on the Fallout miniatures game. I still continue to collect the miniatures, and this year I went to the Modifius booth at Adepticon to pick up this Cult of the Mothman box, and I saw an unfamiliar box. I saw this box, Fallout Factions, a brand new game. This is a new game that uses the same miniatures as Wasteland Warfare, but has a completely different game philosophy, much closer to something like Necromunda, with rules built around running gangs of goons to fight each other, pick up loot, and hack terminals. And after games, there are campaign rules for upgrading and healing up your dudes. This might sound like Necromunda from Warhammer, and the same guy, James Hewitt, who wrote the new Necromunda, also wrote this game. This game, Fallout Factions, fixes every problem I had with Fallout Wasteland Warfare. This is a really nice, tight skirmish game, based around putting together a crew of guys and just taking that crew through a campaign to glory. I was playing a campaign of this game, and Sean, you have to roll in between games to see which enhancement you can put your stratagems into, and Sean kept getting intelligence, which is great. It's good to have a character with extra intelligence. It makes you better at at energy weapons and hacking terminals. And in the very next mission, we had to hack a terminal, and Sean kept failing it. Like, with his intelligence, it should have gone off on a very, very easy dice roll, but it was just not happening in that game. Fallout New Vegas is my very favorite video game. I have 609 hours in the game as of today, and I've almost reached the very end of Fallout New Vegas. Like, I know every single bit of dialogue, I know where every single piece of loot is hidden, I know every single quest, every single engagement. And so I'm kind of starting to not enjoy the game very much, but that's kind of okay because now I have this way to enjoy Fallout New Vegas. Also, I've been getting a kick out of Fallout 76. It's actually a good game now. And speaking of 76, I have been collecting all of the monsters. I got Mothman, I got Mirelurks, I got Deathclaws, I got Sheep Squatch. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see a video of me just banging out every single creature and cryptid from the world of Fallout. Now that I know Fallout Factions is actually a good game, the training wheels are off, the gloves are off, I am ready to go hard into some serious Fallout. But that is not the only game that has been on my painting desk as of late. Moonstone is a game that I've been collecting and playing for a while. It all happened a few years ago. It was my birthday, and there happened to be a sale going on Goblin King Games. I had always had my eye on these miniatures, so I finally decided to pull the trigger on the fairies. I was really interested in getting the fairy miniatures, and I decided to pick them up and the core rulebook, and when I painted these guys, they was really, really different. These miniatures were a breath of fresh air compared to my normal 40k fodder. The models are really, really good. I was looking for something very different from 40k, and little Germanic fairy tale fairy folk definitely fit the bill. I have the fairy folks like Gwendolyn, the magical healer, Foxglove, the rogue, Belladonna, the poisoner, and Diana, queen of the fae. And the fencer is currently on my painting desk, ready for some color. In Moonstone, each model is a named character with lore, backstory, and many unique abilities in-game. And the way these models work together makes the game interesting. And about that game. The game is really, really good. One of the most interesting things is you don't roll dice to do actions during the game. Instead, you use a deck of cards like this arcane deck right here. This is how you do ranged attacks, and then there is a similar melee deck for doing your punching. And setting up the game is also incredibly easy and unique. You take a handful of D4s, you give them a little shaky shake, you drop them. You should probably do a better job dropping them than that, but the way that they land and what number is facing up tells you where the objectives are in the game and how difficult they are to pick up. It's really, really good. The arcane deck is all about bluffing. It's a really unique mechanic, so my fairy Freya wants to cast healing. She has arcane 5, so I draw 5 cards +1 because I'm the one casting. Then my opponent draws 6 arcane cards to try and stop me. My healing goes off if I play any blue card, but Freya also has an ability if she successfully bluffs, I get 3 free energy, basically doubling my turn. I drew a really good hand. I have 2 of the 3 blue ones and this blue too. My opponent also has a hand of 6 cards, which gives them an idea of what I'm holding on to. Now I have some decisions to make. I decide to play the blue 2, but I don't reveal it, I just say that that's what I'm doing. If this happens, Freya will heal something for 3 health. My opponent can either say okay, and that's what'll happen, or they can call my bluff, and reveal if I'm lying. If I was lying, it would stop the healing and Freya might take damage, but if he calls and I'm telling the truth, the spell goes off and I can cast the same spell again with what's remaining in my hand. Let's say that Sean calls me and I have to reveal my blue 2 so I get to go again. I could now cast healing with another one of these blue ones, but I could now bluff. I lie and play this red one, saying it's a blue one, and my opponent, not wanting to call and give me an opportunity for even more healing, doesn't call, so Freya has now healed for 5. And she now gets +3 energy. This risk-reward system that involves both players is the engine that Moonstone is based on. The game of Moonstone is really, really interesting, and I'm working my way through all of the fairies that they make for the game, but I'm also dipping my toes into the goblins. The goblins are really funny. There's a character that I love named Joby, and Joby's thing is he likes to play dead, and so you can actually do actions to kill him off every single turn, and then the Mortician brings him right back to life. And so Mortician and Joby are, like, those cards should be taped together because you don't want to play one without the other. And it's just so fun bringing Joby back to life over and over and over again. Every character in Moonstone is a unique guy with their own unique set of abilities that change up how the game feels. I've got a lot more fairies to work on, I got a lot more goblins to work on, and I've kinda also been buying up like every model in the game. And so I got a lot of Moonstone ahead of me. But in terms of getting into Moonstone, it's a pretty small skirmish game. If you're playing a 3-player game, you need 4 minis. If you're playing a 2-player game, then you need 6 minis. And each mini is actually balanced against one another. So it doesn't matter if you're bringing a tiny, tiny fairy like Tito, or you're bringing a literal giant. Those 2 models are actually balanced against one another. The game is just really good. And in terms of getting into it, they sell boxes of 3 Moonstone minis. 2 of these boxes is a perfect way to get into the game. The actions in the game are really, really fun and engaging, but what's also really, really fun is putting together a crew and taking all of these abilities that are on each card and seeing which ones pair really nicely with each other. I was talking about Joby and Mortician, but there's also Diane, Queen of the Fae, and her ability. She's a pretty good spellcaster, but she can be the best spellcaster in the game if she shanks her fellow fairies. Any fairies nearby, she can deal wounds to them in order to supercharge her spellcasting. And with fairies, you want to be spellcasting. You don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of close combat because, if you can believe it, fairies are pretty piddly and weak. This game has definitely scratched that itch of a kind of cuter and a kind of simpler wargame. I would definitely not say that it's the easiest wargame ever, because my buddy Larry can beat me 9 times out of 10, but I'm getting better. I am getting better all the time. I'm learning my crew a little bit more, and I've really, really been enjoying it. This is a really fun little fantasy game, but that's not the only type of wargame that I've been looking for. There is a type of game that I have been jonesing for, and that is a good boat game. One of my all-time favorite games was X-Wing, but unfortunately that ship has sailed. X-Wing is kinda dead now. And I remember collecting the Pirates of the Spanish Main little buildable figure ships, and painting up a Basilion fleet for Mantic's game Armada, but none of those have really scratched that itch. I was really looking for a good boat game. I want a game that is proper fleet on fleet, and I was starting to think that such a thing did not exist, but then I was pleasantly surprised by a little game called Dropfleet Commander. This is a game where you have a fleet of dropships that are under your command. This is a really good boat game. It came out in 2016 from Hawk Games, but now it is owned by TT Combat, and it is just a bunch of really nice, really lovely spaceships. I mean, part of the reason why I decided to pick up all of these ships is just so that I can just hold them and just go brrrr. Like, that is almost half the fun. But the other half is the really good game that these are a part of. This is my UCM fleet. It has some New Orleans strike cruisers, Toulon frigates, and Rio and New Berlin cruisers, all capped off with the San Francisco troopship. These models went together quick and painted up really fast, but that's not what made me love this game. I was playing a game against Nick and our objective was to kill. I managed to take one of his ships down to 1 wound remaining, but without killing it, I was still behind on points. And then Nick just ran away. And with his ship being faster than mine, the game was over. But if I had deployed a bomber squad and sent them off to patrol that quadrant of the board, he wouldn't have been able to run away. That would have been checkmate. That moment unlocked something in my brain, that if I had just done a better job utilizing the resources that the game had presented to me, I would have won. This game has a ton of tactical depth, and it's not just shooting at one another from across of space, although there is even strategy to that, because there is kinetic versus energy weapons, and some guns are better at utilizing or defending from each different type of energy weapon, but there is also dropping ships, deploying bombers and fighters, boarding actions against other enemy ships or enemy outposts. There is a ton of stuff that you can do with these little ships. I have this space map, but actually it would probably make a little bit more sense to utilize a normal map, a ground map, so that I can properly represent dropping off a bunch of warriors to different sectors of the battlefield. One thing that I really want to do is I want to get an atlas of Wisconsin and literally play on that so that we can make our objectives like my different friends' houses around here. I have 3 baby fleets. I bought these ships from Adepticon and I had a ton of fun painting them up. The UCM are my baby, and I also have some Scourge and some Shaltari. They painted up really quick and I was able to knock things out with the airbrush and washes. Now that I have played a few games and I know enough to be dangerous, I want to expand out these fleets. These ships that I have represent the small to the small end of medium in terms of what's in the game. There are some much bigger ships. One that I have my eyes on is the UCM Dreadnought London, which is a dreadnought that is oops, all guns. In terms of getting in a drop fleet, it helps to have a little bit of knowledge going in because there are a lot of these boxes of spaceships and each box builds like between 4 and 6 ships. So it's a good idea to have a little bit of knowledge of what you want to build because an enjoyable fleet is going to be one that has a variety of units. You're going to be looking for stuff that has close actions, descent, fighters and bombers, dropships, so that you have answers to all of the different questions that the game is going to throw at you. Your wallet is going to thank you to have a little bit of knowledge going in before you procure your fleet, so probably just watch some battle reports of the factions that interest you, or just read all of the rules which are available for free online. This is definitely scratching that boat game itch, but it is not the only boat game that has been on my desk lately. How best to describe Blood and Plunder? I feel like this is a game that kind of just needs to be experienced. Take a look at this. This is my 14-inch long French tartana, and it is full of my gaggle of French sailors. I got my buccaneers and my filibusters and my little captain who is very, very French. Oui, oui, baguette. This is a historic wargame, which usually doesn't interest me that much, but Blood and Plunder does a really, really interesting job of being a pretty tight little skirmish wargame inside of a larger universe of large-scale historical wargaming, and you're not so much representing an accurate depiction of a historic moment, but instead you're kind of role-playing in a historic period, the 17th century, the golden age of sail. Units are brought in 4s, so you have more models than a typical skirmish game, but you have a lot less than an army game. And the scale really shows up in the boats. Blood and Plunder games can be fought on land and in sea, with full rules for exactly how to operate these boats. This is a small 2-deck boat with 4 cannons. I'm a big fan of all 3 Pirates movies, but something like this would be much more historically accurate to the ships that would be seen operating around the coast and in the Caribbean. And that is what Blood and Plunder is all about. It's a historical war game, but instead of being set during a single war, it gives you everything you need to craft a narrative during the Age of Sail and the Golden Age of pirates, set in the Americas or the Caribbean. My little force of Frenchmen is pretty small right now. I've just got this Tartana, but I also have the Blood and Plunder Maynard's Revenge starter box, which comes with 2 more plastic sloops. This one is cast resin, but there actually is a plastic boat, and I've got a little bit of decision paralysis going on with my boats because I want to rig them properly. The only problem is I don't quite know how, but I'm learning. I bought this book, The Rigging of Ships in the Day of Spirit Sail Topmast, 1600s to 1720, which is exactly the time period I need to be working in. And I gave this book a try, and it's pretty darn dense. So I bought this, Pash's Illustrated Marine Dictionary. So this is going to be the book that teaches me what to do. And this is the book that's going to teach me the language of how to ask the questions of what I need to do. I'm learning a lot, but I am really having a fun time really digging into the 17th century and just classic clipper ships, riggings and boats and sail. It's a lot of fun. Right now, I've got the little Tartana and the 2 plastic sloops, but eventually, once I get these guys constructed, I will have some serious experience under my belt, and so then I will be able to upgrade to a proper galleon, a real ship. That's like one of the ships that they had in one of the 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which I am a big fan of all 3 of them. One of my favorite things in the game, other than it giving me a great excuse to deep dive on sailing in the 17th century, is the rules for combat. This game handles it differently than most. You can run in and start fighting, but you don't get to decide to fall back. Instead, you and your opponent's units are just brawling and taking morale checks before one of you eventually falls back, and you don't know who will fail. It makes fighting much riskier, which is good. Running in with a bayonet should be a very risky proposition. Another fun thing is you start the game with 3 gold coins, and you can spend these to buy rerolls. It feels really good to be playing a historical game with some actual props in your hands. I didn't plan on getting into a historical war game this year, although Sean keeps pestering me about bolt action, but Blood and Plunder has definitely got me interested. It is a historical war game, but it is a little bit more of a fantastical miniature war game. Actually, that reminds me, I went to a friendly local game store's Blood and Plunder event, and I got to see somebody else's collection, and he put together his crew out of zombie miniatures to represent Barbossa and his ghost pirate crew from the first Pirates movie, which is really cool, and it's really easy to do stuff like that in the world of Blood and Plunder. It's kind of just a sandbox that lets you play around in it. And there is something wonderful about shooting off a volley of muskets, missing all your shots, and then having to spend time and effort reloading those muskets before you get the chance to do it again. Everything about this game just gets my brain going with different scenarios that I can put together. I could have a line of boats that are all sailing past a fort trying to sack it. I mean, the Tartana's not gonna help much with its 4 cannons, but another boat might have some more. Or a group of sailors that are paddling some canoes up to a boat to try to steal it so that they can start their new lives as pirates. It is just a really, really fun sandbox to kind of explore and experiment in. And it doesn't really matter if things are good and bad or balanced or anything. You just want to experience the world. It is a really, really fun and unique miniature wargaming experience. Although, there are still other miniature wargaming experiences that I tried out this year. One wargame that I hear about a ton is one-page rules. I've played it a little bit in the past, but recently I got a chance to properly try it out. And it is a really, really interesting game. It definitely takes a little bit of inspiration for some other wargames, but it has refined itself down into an incredibly tight rule set. It is absolutely true that it can be played with 1 page of rules. This is the 1 page of rules, and if you look closely, they didn't even use up the full page. On the back here, there's more words, but this is just a reference sheet. This 1 page is the entire game. The rules are very simple, and there are 26 factions with some very familiar, like Battle Brothers or Orc Marauders, and some that are really unique, like the Goblin Reclaimers, who are just a lovable gaggle of reasonably friendly and helpful goblins, and the Ratman clans, who are laboratory mice who can now pilot spaceships. Here is how easy Grimdark Future is. This is a squad of Robot Legion warriors and Saurian Starhost warriors with pistols. The Robot Legions will go first. They can do one of 4 things: shoot, move 6 inches and shoot, move 12 inches, or move 12 inches and then punch. That's it. The robots are going to take a shot at the Saurians. They get 1 shot apiece and only roll to see if they succeed. 4-ups on 5 dice. That is 4 hits. Sauruses make their 4-up saves, and oof, 3 of them died, only 1 save. Boom, activation over, and it only took a few seconds. Now the Saurians can activate. They decide to do some charging, getting 2 punches each and hitting on 4s, which leads to some damage. The robots decide to take this on their 3-up save, which leads to 1 model needing to take the self-repair roll. They don't manage to get a 6, and so 1 robot dies, and then the robots get to hit back. The Saurians take their saves, and 1 more ends up dying, and then the Sauruses must scoot back 1 inch. In this game, there's no messing around with stuck in combat or desperate escape tests. It's just nice, clean, and quick. That is the entire game, and it can be a little bit trippy because I've played most wargames out there, and all of them have their different ways and eccentricities of getting you through basically moving, shooting, charging, and fighting. But the incredible speed at which you can do it with 1-page rules is really weird. It kind of feels like you're experiencing a wargame in fast forward, or in like super speed. It's weird. I'm really looking forward to taking all of the armies and the games and the systems that I have and plugging them into the 1-page rule system and seeing how they feel, and if they play similarly to their original game, or if they play very, very similarly, just a little bit quicker and a little bit nicer in 1-page rules. 1-page rules is a rule set, but they also create models, and these models here are from Grimdark Future's Broken Truth 2-player battle box, which has over 70 miniatures split between the Saurian Starhost and the Robot Legions. These 2 forces are monstrous. The Saurians are literally monsters, and these models here are prototypes. The real minis will be PVC, and we have some prototypes of that material with the Saurian Starhost warriors with pistols, and the Saurian Starhost warriors with rifles, and the 3 gators. They look very good. This box has oodles of troops and some big fun stuff, like the Saurian Veteran on Tyrannosaur and the Tripod Walker for the Robot Legions. And the Quick Start Guide has 6 easy-to-follow missions that ramp up in complexity and are so quick to play, I'm sure you could get through all 6 missions in an afternoon. You can follow the Grimdark Future Broken Truth 2-player battle box by 1-page rules on GameFound, and it is live now. If you want to get into 1-page rules or wargaming in general, this is a great way to do it. One thing I am really looking forward to with 1-page rules is taking advantage of their Army Forge studio. If you're subscribed to their Patreon, you get access to editing their like army construction, and you can create your own codexes and army books. In the span of like an hour, I put together rules, proper rules for using my gun guns, my grand army of the gun guns in 1-page rules. I've got stuff for the classic militia gun. I've got rules for the Kadu riders. I have got rules for, don't break, the gun catapults. And because I put these rules together in 1-page rules, it's compatible with all of the 1-page rules games. So I could do some silly stuff, like making my gun guns fight against, let's say, the Battle Brothers. A little battle between Space Marines and the gun guns. And would that mean that the Space Marines have been transported to the world of Star Wars? Or does that mean that Star Wars has somehow made its way to the world of Warhammer 40,000? I don't know, but I really want to try it out because I want to see, can the gun guns beat the Space Marines? I guess I could also make the gun guns go up against the Saurus Starhosts or the Robot Legions. And there would also be some pretty cool battles. I may have slightly overtuned the rules for my gun guns because I'm a fan of the gun guns, so it'll be interesting to see how my weird little models, nobody else in the world has a gun army but me, just to see what happens when I make these guys fight those guys. 1-page rules has a bunch of different game systems that are all designed to be as easy and accessible as possible, and I can definitely say that they have achieved their goal because in playing Grimdark Futures, it took me about 5 minutes to get every single part of the game, again, it fits on 1 page, and just be playing it. And I am really excited to play some more games of it because it seems like a really nice, fast war game. I think part of that speed comes from the quality of the rules, but it was also me and Sean playing a game, and whenever Sean and I play, it always gets pretty darn competitive, but one-page rules, pretty good. So these have been 5 war games that have been buttering my biscuits, jingling my bells, flimming my flams, taking up all of my free time. I still love 40k and Age of Sigmar, but these games have been giving me a lovely opportunity to try out and paint some very different things. I mean, I'm learning nautical terms in English, French, and German. What more could a wargamer want? Let me know in the comments below if you guys have seen or heard of any of these games, and if so, what did you think about them? And these 5 games are not even close to an exhaustive list of every war game that I play. So if you guys want to see more of this, please let me know in the comments below. A big thanks to One Page Rules for sponsoring this video and letting me gush about some of my favorite war games. I hope you guys enjoyed, and as always, thanks for watching.